Welcome back to MSME Talk podcast for micro, small, medium enterprise businesses and startups. This is episode number 46 of MSME Talk on Budget 2025 for MSMEs and startups. For better experience, I would suggest you to switch to 1.25x speed and also don't miss to subscribe at the rate MSME Talk on YouTube, Apple and Spotify.
Hello, MSME Talk listeners. I am Swapnil Karkare, your today's host in our economics. Every year, businesses, whether they are producing a shirt, a machine, running a hotel chain, or even a small shop, whether they are large or medium or small or startups, or even in traditional business setups, watch Union Budget with some hope. Today, our expert, Medini Agarwal, will help us understand what is in for MSMEs and startups in India's 2025 budget. Medini Agarwal is a director with SS Kotari Mehta Company, having almost 16 years of experience in advising MSMEs and startups in areas of ITES, manufacturing, trading, and is here to update our community on Budget 2025 presented by Honorable Finance Minister Madam Nirmala Sitharaman. A warm welcome, Medini, on MSME Talk podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Swapnil, for this warm welcome. It's a pleasure to discuss today the key highlights of the budget 2025 and that too specifically about the two critical pillars of our economy, it's MSME and the startups. Even the government has also feel that because of the MSME and these MSME and the startup sectors are not only the contributors to the country India's GDP, but they are the key drivers, and that is the reason our honorable FM ma'am has chosen MSME as one of the four engine of the budget this year. According to ma'am, there are four powerful engines: is agriculture, MSME, investment, and the exports. So basically, the government also feels somewhere that MSME and startup are one of the great pillars for the to encourage the India's economy to a further level.
So let us start with what happened in this year's budget. So what are the main highlights of this year's budget?
Basically, Swapnil, it is beyond doubt that India's economy is the fastest growing economy out of all the global economies. From the, India's development record of the last 10 years and structural reforms have drawn the global attentions on the Indian economy. This year also, the budget outlines the government's economic vision with the main focus on, let us point out, it's an infusion of the good amount. It's around 12,000 crores infusion, capital infusion in the MSME sectors, and to remove that fiscal deficit to 5.1% of the GDP, and that too along with the continued economic growth. It is a very big announcement, and let's see. We are hoping that government will definitely achieve this target. Secondly, there is a strong emphasis on the green technologies in this budget. Green technology, basically, they have announced that they will give some tax benefits to the companies, to the startups and the MSMEs who will do the green technology part. Green technology is basically related to the renewable energy resources we are using to make environmental more cleaner. Okay, so for that purpose, government has also introduced some schemes, but that is not in detail in the budget. We are waiting that what initiatives government is going to take for this green area. Secondly, there is a problem of it's a ongoing problem of the unemployment in India. To tackle this problem, this budget has introduced some initiatives, incentives that we will discuss further in the session only. And government is hoping that around 10 million of job opportunities will be created by the next 2 years. So this is a very very big step we are hoping, because if such kind of steps will be taken, then this will definitely reduce the problem of unemployment in India. And for the youth, basically there are four areas: it's poor, it's youth, it's nari, women, and the rural areas. They want to focus on these four areas, and one of the part is that they will provide the employment to the youth people more. Then there is another big issue, and it's a very important issue in this IT era. It's the digitization of the processes. Many of the companies, many of the small sector business are facing problem because of the less digitization process. Government is focusing to provide the digital platform to the industry, so that there will be less cost burden on the movement and they can concentrate on their business more. And if everything will be digitized, everything will be transparent to the industries and to the government. So it is also a very good step, and this government is actually working on this process, as we can see.
So let us now focus on the tax policies. What are the big changes in tax policies for businesses, and if there are any specific announcements for MSMEs and startups in the tax policy?
Yeah, definitely. When government is thinking to encourage the MSME and startups, they will have to give some benefits also in the taxation also, because
Yeah.
taxation is a part that every taxpayer feels pain to pay to the government. And if it is on a higher side, it discourages the people to earn more and more. So definitely government has come up with good steps in respect to the GST compliances. If I will talk about, MSMEs generally opt for the quarterly return filing system, and
Hmm.
this will create to a problem to the large taxpayers who opt for the monthly tax filing system. And it's a cost, compliance cost plus paperwork burden on the MSMEs, which is increasing on the part of the compliance and regulatory reforms. By this, in this budget, government has introduced a single window compliance system for the MSMEs. From there, they can comply their all regulatory compliances from a single window. It's on the MSMED Act, and that we generally known as TREADS.
Hmm.
Then there is another benefit in the forms of investment. Investment is definitely only a big source of any company to create the fund to move further in the business. Everybody knows that. And government has provided some incentives, a good incentive to investors also, and to MSMEs also, so that more investors come and encourages them to invest more into the MSMEs. These are the
Right.
broad outlines we can say that we have seen in this budget. And for MSME sectors, there are some sector specific also that we will discuss. And yes, these are the broad outlines.
Okay. Now from taxes, let us shift to MSMEs and startups specifically. What are the significant announcements for MSMEs and how that those announcements will impact the small businesses in India?
Mhm. This is actually a very good area that we are discussing today, because our what I believe 80 or 90 80% of the companies are small businesses in India, and we are covering major portion. That's why government of India is also giving attention to these sectors. If we will see, as per the data analysis of the government only, currently in the manufacturing sectors, there are 36%. There 36% revenues coming from the MSMEs only. And if we talk about the exports part, export is also very important for the Indian economic growth. 45% of the exports are coming from the MSME startups, and it's a very big achievement. With this achievement, government again, they feel the potential in the startups and the MSMEs, and that's why they are keen to introduce more and more incentives and benefits to this industry. With this feeling, government is planning to expand more to the startups. But before going into the announcements or the figures that what government has provided in this budget, we should concentrate, we should know what was the requirement, what was the need of the startups and the MSMEs from this budget.
Hmm.
Because this is the push, if we are creating something for these industries, we should know what they want.
Right.
Exactly. So first of all, although the government has provided a very good credit guarantee scheme to the MSMEs, but practically, because we are working in this area, practically most of the MSMEs are still facing problem to have the easily access to the credits. They are,
Hmm.
there are huge file numbering. There's a cost compliance is there, and paperwork is there, and they are not getting very easy access to the credit schemes. And so they are hoping to have more credits, more credit limits from the banks to from the government. And I think government will not, leave them hopeless. They will definitely provide something. Secondly, if we are talking about the regulatory compliances, for a small company, every tax compliance, regulatory compliances, for example, filing of papers for the banking loans and everything, taxation filing systems, it's a cost. If a company is thinking that we should go for the monthly filing, it's a monthly cost on the company. And for
Right.
small businesses, a single penny is very important. So government has the MSME, basically this sector is expecting some less cost compliances for the MSME and startup sectors, so that they can invest more money into the innovative areas. Then another pain is the tax reliefs. They want
Hmm.
that more tax benefits should be provided to the small business houses, because uh, another, if there will be less tax, then there will be more money in the hands of the startups and the MSMEs. Then these sector want some support for the innovative activities. If we are talking about the startups, many of the startups are into innovation ideas. They want to innovate something. They are into the IT area. They want to into provide new deep technologies they want to give to the India. But for that purpose, a huge support is required in the form of investment from the investors, from the banks, and from the government. But without any benefit, nobody would like to invest. For that purpose,
Hmm.
MSME wants that there should be some benefits provided by the government, so that more investors can infuse money into their business, and they can provide with the good technology to the India. This is the main pain to the IT industry, for because many of the engineers who have started their startups and new companies, they have only one issue, that they are lacking funds in their hands. Then another area, many of the startups wants to export more and more. But due to the huge cost compliances in respect of the exports, to the transportation cost to the port, they are not very keen to make more exports. So for that purpose, if more export incentives will be provided to the MSME sectors, then we are hoping that India will be on the international trade, will be in the international podium with the MSME and startups only. So if government will think from the export point of view also, then definitely MSME and startups will be the key bone of the Indian economy. Now
Hmm.
let's discuss what government has feel and proposed in this budget for the MSME sectors.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, government has seen the pain, have feel the pain of the MSMEs, and for all these issues, they have provided very good incentives. Let's talk about the credit facility. If you will see in this budget, government has proposed to increase the credit guarantee scheme from 1.25 lakh crores to the 1.5 lakh crore, which is a huge amount. It's a 20% increase in the credit schemes. So with this increase in the credit limit, the government is hoping around 25 lakh MSMEs will be added to increase their business. This will directly benefit MSMEs, enabling them to expand, hire the more laborers, and invest into technologies. So this is actually a very welcome step by the government. 20% increase in the investment will definitely help. They have introduced single window filing system for all tax regulatory compliances. This will ease off the business and the regulatory compliances by the MSMEs. Then there is a support for the startups and the innovations. In this area, government has also proposed to invest 25,000 crores fund, which is approximately 25% increase in the funds as compared to the last years. So again, if that we were discussing that if more amount will be in the hands of the startups, they can come up with more innovative and more technological ideas for the Indian economy. So it is also a very warm welcome. Secondly, a great relief to the startups. The tax holiday period has been extended for another 2 years, that will last till 2027. Now, startups must be feeling very relaxed for another 2 years. They are in the tax holiday period, and they will be having more investing amount in their hands. Basically, this will be a game changer for the startup, because
Right.
some of the starters are about to end. They are thinking that now the tax holiday will end. What we will do? Some of the amount will go into the tax form. So this will be a game changer for those startups who must be thinking to quit. They may continue for another 2 years and may grow to another level. And then further is if we are talking about export oriented schemes.
Hmm.
In this budget, what I have observed, government has introduced a export promotion mission scheme for the MSMEs and startups. They are thinking, they have proposed a budget of 10,000 crore fund to support MSMEs only for their export transactions. For that purpose, they have created a export hub. They are thinking to create an export hub from where the MSME and startups can easily access of all the export compliances and can gather their products and the services. From this, we are expecting, government is expecting that additionally 30% of the logistic cost can be reduced, because if there will be a different export hubs at different areas, that will definitely help the MSMEs in the reduction of the logistic cost to export their products. So this will again, and mainly if we will see practically in India, एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड एमएसएमईज जो हैं इन टेक्सटाइल्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स will be benefited from easier access to global markets, because the main aim of the government to make the MSME started at the international trade also. Their presence should be there and they have the easy access to the global market. That will definitely reduce the increased shipping cost. Greater financial backing will be there to the MSMEs. The more exports will be there, the more financial backing to the MSMEs and the startup sectors will be available. Then if we are coming to the green and sustainable MSMEs, if everybody knows global warming is a hot topic these days for the environmental protection, and government is also focusing on more renewable energy resources. So they have provided some tax benefits to the investors who will invest into the MSMEs or startups who are into the green technologies, and especially for the solar plants and the wind power projects. If a company is thinking to enter into this area, the investor who will invest into these companies, they will get the tax benefits by the government. So with this, we are again hoping that this will aid the MSMEs who are into the green technological areas. They will not only provide the funding, they will create an advantage to the global market increasingly, because it's a sustainable area. Because at international level, it is a discussion. It is a matter of discussion to maintain the nature right now.
Correct.
Then again, in the IT area, digitization transformation for the MSM is very important. It's very critical and highly important required. The government has announced again in this for this digitization process a 10,000 crore budget for the digital transformation fund for MSMEs to enable them to digitize their operations. Additionally, the National MSME Digitization Scheme will help businesses transition to digital payments, enhancing their operational efficiencies and market reach. They can easily access to the market where they want to have, where they don't have actually the access right now. And I would say it's a crucial step for MSMEs to remain competitive in increasing the digital economy, from e-commerce to digital marketing. This initiative will ensure that even small players can reach global guidelines with minimal overhead. Now, if we with this budget, these are the broad areas that government has covered in the budget of 2025. If we will compare, have a gist of this budget with the comparison the last year. Last year, in comparison to the last year, the credit guarantee scheme has been increased to 20%. Basically, right now, what I am giving is a important points for the MSMEs and the startups. What government has provided in this budget is the increase in the credit guarantee scheme by 20%. Then it's a reduction in the corporate tax structure, tax rate. There is a separate startup innovation fund of 20,000 crore, which is increase of 25% from the last years. Then there is an increase extension of the tax holiday for the startups. There are export oriented MSME schemes, which for which government has infused the amount of fund of around 43%. Then then another it is green MSME. If we are summing up, green MSME, There are new initiatives for which 5,000 crore fund has been proposed to be infused by by the government. And then lastly, it's a digital transformation fund for the MSMEs. So as you can see, there's a clear focus on scaling up funding for MSMEs and the startups in this year's budget, with significant increase in credit access, innovation funding, and export incentives. Basically, I would say this expansion signals the government's recognition of the potential of these sectors to drive India's future economic growth. They are getting the sense that this sector only can give the boost to the Indian economy.
So, apart from the broader announcements, are there any
Mhm.
sector-specific announcements that our listeners would like to hear about?
Yeah, not much, but yes, few industries are there on which government has give their focus. For example, for manufacturing, if we are talking about the manufacturing industry,
Hmm.
there is a scheme, product linked incentive scheme. Basically, it's an old scheme, but now the government has extended this scheme to another two, three sectors. For example, it's electronic vehicles and semiconductors. And PLI schemes are mainly focused on the domestic production of the goods. You
Right.
must be knowing the agenda of this government is Make in India, Digital India. So this whole budget is, revolving around these two statements, Make in India and the Digital India. So for manufacturing area, the PLI scheme has been extended to another sectors. Then if we are coming to the agri industry, there are some, it's they have come up with digitization process so that farmers, a precision farming and digital marketplaces will be available to the farmers. They have expanded, they have proposed a budget of around 10,000 crore for this area also. With this, our agri industry can increase more. Then coming to the health sector and the biotech, the government has proposed a budget for R&D sector also, which will promote innovations in the medical technologies and the biotechnologies. Now, very important part for the India, it's a labor intensive sectors, because we as an Indian, we are more labor intensive sectors are there. We are, because of the large populations and everything. So for the
Right.
labor intensive areas, that is footwear and the leather sectors. For footwear leather sectors, they have introduced a focused product scheme which will be announced very soon. Okay, what would be the incentives and the benefits available to the footwear and the leather industry? This will definitely, basically, this scheme will. We are hoping that they will, help this industry in designing and the capacity and the manufacturing components of this sector, of particularly this sector, footwear and leather. Then the another labor intensive sector is toy sectors. Basically, if we are
Hmm.
talking about this toy sector, so for this also a national action plan for toys will be implemented by the government, and that will be on the table of the government very soon. Now, basically, this scheme will focus on the development of the clusters, skills, and a manufacturing ecosystem that will create high quality, unique, innovative, sustainable toys. Government has not said anything, but from the last 2 3 years, there is a high downfall. There is a high, downfall in the exports of the toys from the India. So for
Right.
that purpose, government has introduced this policy so that their toy sector can be increased, and there will be boost from this sector also. Coming to the food processing unit, government has introduced for setting up of National Institute for Food Technologies, Entrepreneurship and Management in Bihar. That is Makhana and Food Institute Board in the Bihar, because they want to secure the makhana factories from there, because there's a lot of production of makhana in the Bihar mainly. So they want
Right.
to create a board over there so that there will be a more benefits available, and more makhana factories and productions will be there from the Bihar only. And in Assam also, they have proposed to create a urea plant in the state of Assam. And with this, there are some clean tech manufacturing, because green technology, green area is also part of this budget. So there is a commitment to improve domestic value addition and build the ecosystem for solar PV cells, EV batteries, motors and controllers, electrolytes, with turbines with very high voltage transmission mission equipment, and grid scale batteries. So basically, these are the broad sectors where government has, you know, put emphasis to provide aid to the people.
Correct. And I think sector-specific announcements are important also because there are some sector where there might be some problems in one of the two sectors, and then announcing something is really important in that. Apart
Yes.
from uh, apart from that, are there any announcements which can impact MSMEs and startups directly or indirectly? Like all these other announcements which you have already told are directly for MSMEs, but are there anything which can support MSMEs and startups indirectly?
Yes, definitely it is there. For example, there is a reduction in the personal taxation also. And if there is a reduction in the personal taxation, that means more purchasing power in the hands of the public. And it will indirectly, yeah, I will say it's a direct impact, not indirect impact. Because if I have the capacity of purchasing more, I will buy more. And that will directly help the MSME sectors to grow more. Because if there's an increase in the demand, supply will be more and then manufacturing will be more. So if I will say yes, it is there. Personal taxation reduction is there. That will help the MSME sectors. Then we have all read that if a money keeps on moving, it's a credit flow. It's a credit flow that will increase the economy by the in the form of interest incomes and everything. And if credit enhancement is there, easy access credit available to the MSMEs, that will definitely directly or indirectly help these sectors. Now coming to the another part, if we think about, it's a rural development. It's very important. We all know that still there are many areas which are underserved, which are not upgraded, where even reaching transportation is not possible. Transportation is also not possible. There are a lot of areas still there in India. So for that purpose, government has proposed very lots of schemes where they are thinking that there should be a rural economy support will be there, in which they are thinking for the rural infrastructure investment. There will be direct benefit transfers will improve, and that will improve the economic activity in the rural areas. There should be direct transfers. For that purpose, what they have introduced is important to understand. First of
Mhm.
all, they have provided these schemes to improve the agriculture productivity. Every year we are listening that farmers are not very happy, their yields are reducing. For that purpose, every year in the every year budget, government is proposing some amount to aid the farmers. And with this, they are coming up with new technologies also. But again, for innovating those new technologies, funds are required. The government has proposed a good amount of budget in this budget, that there should be a improved agriculture productivity with the new technologies. Again, coming to the another part, for the rural development only, they have provided a digital platform where the farmers can have the knowledge regarding their yields, regarding their crops, and they can understand what they should do. And they have the market access also. Government is creating hubs, creating shops, little areas where they will be keeping their offices to guide the farmers to small sectors. This product can be sold more in which area. So there will be market access to those farmers and the small vendors. Then again, in the rural areas, they are they are creating to more infrastructure development, and directly and indirectly it will definitely increase the provide the employment to the rural people also. So there will be employment generation in the rural areas. If Now you will see, we are talking about the indirect impact of these policies on the MSMEs. The more development in the rural areas, more market access will be there, employment generation will be there, again the purchasing power will be improved, and again the demand will increase, and definitely MSMEs will grow. Because these are the key pain areas. If government will think about this, our economy will definitely go, and there is no doubt that we will be the number one economy in another 20-30 years.
Yeah. Uh, Another important point which I think got missed is that MSME, the limits of the turnover and everything, they have
Yes.
increased.
Yes.
So, can you tell us like how that will impact the broader sector for MSMEs, like in general, how that will impact MSMEs?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a very important point actually we missed. Uh, Basically, in this budget, the government has proposed to to categorize a company. So let's understand what is that limit first of all.
Yeah.
To categorize a company into micro, small, and this medium enterprise, this MSME, there is a limit of investment and the turnover. The term earlier, the limit was maximum the 250 crores for medium enterprises, and below that there is this capping of 10 crore and 5, then 50 crore and 250 crores. This in this budget, government has increased the limits of turnover for investment 2.5 times, and for the turnover is 2 times. So that will definitely expand the scope of industries who can register themselves into the MSME sectors. So
Okay.
think, it's a turnover of 250 crores now and a turnover of 500 crore. There are many small businesses are there who are into the category of 500 crores. Now they can get registered themselves into the MSME and can get all these benefits what MSMEs are availing these days. And along with this, and this is actually important because all the credit limits or tax benefits are increased. Even funds have been increased drastically from the last year comparison. So with this increase, these new companies who will get registered into the MSME will be get benefited, and then more revenue will be generated from these companies.
So just for the listeners, I'll just read out the classification. So earlier, micro enterprises were, if the investment was 1 crore rupees or turnover was 5 crore rupees, they were classified as micro. And now it has been revised to investments of 2.5 crores and turnover of 10 crores. And so each and every category will has basically moved up. So the companies or the organizations which were not micro or medium or small earlier will now get categorized into these particular buckets, and all these benefits, all these announcements will be enjoyed by those companies also.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So now let us move on to something different, which is about exporters. So what I think some of the announcements you have explained earlier. Can you elaborate on the announcements? What is there for MSMEs and startups which export goods outside India?
Yeah, as discussed in last mini previous session also, that to increase the exports, to boost the exports from the India, the government has introduced export promotion schemes. And in that scheme, basically the government is thinking to provide the more export hubs to the MSME sectors so that their logistic cost can be reduced. First, the foremost important step that has been proposed by the government in this budget. Then coming to the credit part, if the government has extended the credit facility, and if easy access credit will be available to the MSMEs, they will be, they will be into the more productions, they will be into the more service providing services, and they definitely would think about the exports. Then more fundings opportunities are there. That is 10,000 crore fund for the startups have been provided, have been proposed by by the government in this budget. And most important part, even although this is not directly related to the exporters, but I would like to discuss this point because this is important for the investment point of view. Even the SEBI guidelines for the investors who want to invest into the MSMEs, the guidelines have been relaxed for those investors, and more protection has been provided to those investors. So with this, investor will be encouraged to invest more into the MSMEs to get the more benefits, because tax benefits are also there, and the basis due to the changes in the SEBI guidelines, protection will be available to the investors. Secondly, if we are talking about again the digital adoptions, with the more digital adoptions, MSMEs will be, for the MSMEs, it will be easier to export more because everything, if can be done digitization processes, their logistic cost again will reduce to a drastic level around 30%. Then there is a support for the international expansion through export promotion scheme. FPS scheme is there. If FPS focus product scheme is there, with this scheme, if a company, if an MSME startup will export their products, they will be getting some percentage of benefit from the government. So such kind of incentives government and the facilities government has provided, which will definitely aid these sectors to export more.
And even I think there are some custom duty cuts also, which can help them
Yes,
like import raw materials from other countries, which can also help them in export a lot of finished products. So that is
yes,
also
yes.
another way where they can be helpful. So before going, I would like to just ask you, what are your key takeaways from this budget for MSMEs and startups? If you want to just
Yeah.
put it into like two, three final strong sentences, what would you say?
Yeah, actually, for the listeners who are from MSME sector startups, I would definitely, would like to give them some, important points what they have actually gained from this budget. First of all, now the more credit facilities are available, they can get more collateral-free loans anytime. It's a, very flexible loan schemes will be there by the government for the MSME sectors. So this will definitely a very good step. Then we are talking about the investment purpose. For the investors, government has provided some benefits which will definitely encourage the investor to invest more. So these sectors have lucrative for the investors that if you will fund the MSMEs, you will be benefited by the government in this manner. Then through this process, there is a digital transformation also. For digital transformation, funding is there. For more easy access of everything over the digital platform, the government will provide a single window regulatory compliance platforms to the MSMEs, which will definitely reduce their cost burden of regulatory and other tax compliances. And then I would say export incentive schemes, yeah, very important. They are more focusing on the exports also, so that MSME can export more and more, and they will be the leading partners on the international trade with the large taxpayers.
And I think just a final another point before leaving is about there are one more announcement for the MSMEs is about the credit cards.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah,
yes.
we
Government
can.
has introduced this is a credit card for small enterprises. It's for small enterprises. They have introduced a
Yeah,
facility of credit card, and but that will be provided by the banks only.
okay. So it will take time to, just
Yes,
roll
yes,
out
it will take some time,
implementation.
but yes, definitely it will be there, and that will be with some benefits only.
Right, got it. So yes, thanks a lot, Melanie. And do you have any final thoughts for our listeners in general? Uh, what would you like to share with them if there is anything?
Nini, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to provide some key highlights from this budget regarding, and especially for this important sectors, MSME and startup. Even government feels that this is my pillar. Only these sectors can give a boost to the Indian economy. But let me tell you, please keep believing in yourself. MSME sector is one of the critical and very important part of the Indian economy, and you are the people who is creating job opportunities for lots and lots of people. So that's why government is aiding, government is helping MSME sectors more, and the more focus in this budget I have observed, what I have I felt that it is on MSME sectors only. And that too, if you will see it's a basic, you may say it's a sector specific, or you will say it's a industry specific. This is a different part, but the major focus I have observed is for the MSME startup boosting, and that for that purpose I would say yes, being a critical pillar, we have the potential to create job, we have the potential to increase the export growth, we have potential to make it a 2 trillion economy in the terms of exports by 2030. Yes, and secondly, In MSME, women-led business is also being proposed by the government in this budget. So I would say it's a very, very good budget for these sectors. We should take the advantage. We should take the benefits of these incentives and grow further.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that advice. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear listeners, since last 3 years, you have been listening to MSME Talk audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, etc. Now it is available in video format on YouTube as well. Also, I would like to tell that more information and updates are not covered on podcast, for which you have to ensure that you subscribe our newsletter and follow us on social media. Links are given in description.